And it's 5:31. Welcome.
Welcome. Good evening. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight, Tuesday, September 22nd, for our City of Napa Mayoral Candidate Forum. I'm Joyce Kingery and of the League of Women Voters of Napa County. Tonight we are here to help educate Napa County voters by giving you the opportunity to hear from the candidates for this race. While we usually provide in-person forums, due to COVID-19 restrictions, we are coming to you via a Zoom webinar. We are providing Spanish translation via the Zoom interpreter capability. If you wish to listen to the Spanish translation, click the globe-like icon on the bottom right of your screen and check Spanish. Our translator for this forum is Gabriela Vargas. We are recording this forum and it will be posted on YouTube, our LWV website, Facebook, and on other social media platforms in about 7 to 10 days. Per FCC rules, no other recording of this forum or excerpts from the LWV recording are allowed. The League of Women Voters is a trusted membership organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We are nonpartisan and do not endorse or oppose candidates or political parties. The League does participate in issue advocacy and voter education. If you would like to join us in our work, please visit our website, lwvnapa.org, for membership information and much, much more. The League encourages civil discourse, and the candidates have all agreed to participate under guidelines set for this forum. The candidates have agreed to confine their remarks to their qualifications and issues and not to resort to defamatory remarks about the other candidates. Microphones and video are off for everyone except the candidates and the LWV forum team. There is no chat or Q&A capability for this session. The questions for this forum were solicited in advance from the community and from our LWV members over email. We have an LWV team screen the questions to avoid duplication or anything inappropriate. The candidates have not seen the questions in advance. The number of questions we ask depends on the time available. We hope to get to all the questions. Our LWV team helping with this forum tonight are our timekeeper this evening is Sue Kessler, and our moderator is Bernie Brooks. I will now turn the evening over to Bernie. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce, and good evening, everyone. Tonight with us, we have all three of the candidates for mayor of the city of Napa: Doris Gentry, Gerardo Martin, and Scott Sedgley. Candidates, thank you for being with us. We know it's very busy for you right now, but this is important. But before we start the Q&A session, let's just go over a few ground rules, how it will work. The order of answering the questions has been decided before we started, and we'll rotate with each question. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. And candidates will keep an eye on the timekeeper screen. The screen will turn yellow when there's only 30 seconds left and red when their time is up. Following all the questions and a short closing on my part, then each candidate will have 1.5 minutes for their own closing statement in the reverse order from the opening question. So now let's begin with question 1. And this will start with Gerardo. Gerardo, if you are elected, what are your strengths and weaknesses in taking a role of mayor? And you'll have to unmute yourself and 1.5 minutes.
Okay, perfect. You know, I don't like to talk about myself very much, but I think some of the big, strong attributes that I bring to the table is the ability to, one, just be a collaborator. I've always worked in the community, whether it was with the Hispanic Chamber or the Latino Leaders Luncheon or the Napa Valley College Foundation Board. I've always collaborated with everybody and figured out ways to find solutions. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I bring. I have a lot of experience working with the community. I have a lot of experience bringing people together. The one big thing is I can speak Spanish. So we have about 40% Latinos in Napa. And I think my ability to communicate with 98% of the community, whether it be English or Spanish, I think that's a huge plus. And I think when we talk about inclusivity, I think that's one thing that I would bring to the table because I've been working hard to make sure that we have more candidates, and not just in Napa, but we have on the school board, we have at the college board level, we have at city council, and there's a lot that we can do more of in that realm. My business sense, my financial background lends itself to this situation that we're in right now. The financial crisis that we're in. So I think I can bring a lot to the table.
Thank you. And now I think I'm echoing, so I'm going to move my phone. And we'll move on. Doris, same question to you. If you are elected, what are your strengths and weaknesses in taking on the role of mayor?
I think that Gerardo stole my whole.
Just 1 second. I'm sorry. Can we have the timer please reset the times? Thank you.
Now?
There you go.
Okay. So I think Gerardo stole my whole speech right there. It was fabulous. Collaborator, networker, advocate in the community. Certainly I've done my share of donations, philanthropy, and give back, chairing the 4th of July parade with my amazing, awesome Rotary, as well as raising money for foster kids, tireless, give back to the community, donate myself back in, and working with Napa Valley College for 20 years, teaching parenting classes has taught me an amazing skill of social discourse, of structuring conversations to bring teams together. I'm definitely a networker and a team player. As far as my specific attributes for mayor, I'm an advocate that we're taxed enough already. I don't want to see us put more taxes on the back of our community. I feel like our community is bearing so much with this job crisis, with COVID, with fires, with, there's just drama and trauma hitting us in every direction. So I'm proud to be endorsed by the Taxpayers Association and proud to step up to serve my community as mayor of Napa.
Thank you.
I'm ready.
Thank you. Okay. There we go. All right. And Scott, to you.
Thank you very much. My biggest strength is I'm prepared. I come to the mayor's job with a very varied set of experiences from working in the building trades to 30 years with the Napa Fire Department. Over those years, I've built partnerships and I built trust throughout the community at all different levels in the nonprofit sectors, in the foundations and civic groups. So that's what I bring. My experience with the fire department, I'm experienced in working under pressure. I've experienced working firsthand in the Emergency Operations Center for floods, for fires, for earthquakes, and now this horrific pandemic. So those are the strengths that I bring, is preparedness and experience in a community that trusts me, from the workers to our leaders in Congress. Those are my strengths. And I think I've proven those over the past 40 years in this community as a working adult, and I will continue those strengths and those capabilities on into my term as mayor. And I didn't hear too many weaknesses. They always say that's a setup question, asking on weaknesses. But I will share that I think I am overextended sometimes. My weaknesses, I fail to say no when it comes to pitching in with my Kiwanis brothers and sisters. And sometimes I overextend myself. But with my family and friends, I keep things moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And timer, will you reset to start again? Well, we go on to the next question. This time we will start with Doris. And Doris, the question is, what are your top priorities as mayor?
Oh, I love
If
that.
elected.
I love that question. I think there are many great priorities. I think Gerardo mentioned 40% of our community is Latino, and it's so important to bring that community forward and to embrace that community with our boards and commissions and duties on the council, as well as to working for inclusion with all the different types of people. There's economic stratas, there's so many different levels besides skin color. You know, there's people with different educational backgrounds, and bringing people forward and working together in a collaborative way with teams is really important to the city of Napa. Also, we're facing a severe budget crisis, and I have tremendous background and experience in finance to work with that. And I look so forward to working with our professionals that we have on board at the city. We have Brett, who's head of our all of our finances in the city, and he's amazing. And I look forward to working with all of our teams to continue on a solid path. You know, many cities right now in the state of California are facing bankruptcy because of poor management of their resources. And we want to make sure that doesn't happen to Napa. We want to remain solvent for our families, for our children. We want to keep our vibrant parks and keep our assets strong.
Okay, thank you. Sue, our timer. Is that all working well there? There we go. I didn't have her on my screen. All right, reset. And the question, same question now to Scott. Scott, what are your top priorities as mayor if you're elected?
Well, for any community, it's a stable and vibrant economy. Without a vibrant economy, municipalities aren't able to provide the services that its residents deserve and expect. And so my top priority is to recover from this pandemic and help our small businesses, our employers get back on track. So that's the key, a vibrant economy. And we can argue what our economy is, if it's diverse enough, but we have one. People say we don't put all our eggs in one basket. And I say we're fortunate to have eggs. And so what we need to do is maintain that economy. The next thing is housing for our young and for our working men and women. We have a real housing challenge, and how we accomplish that is going to be the biggest challenge ahead, is in addition to climate change, because that ties into all components. So housing is a big one. Climate change, how it's going to affect us, it's with our water supply, our watershed. And then the last priority for me is where we live, that quality of life, our parks, our streets, our safety, of those things that make living in Napa so desirable, is that quality of life. And my priority as mayor will be to maintain that quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will reset the timer, and then we will go to Gerardo with the same question. What are your top priorities of elected mayor?
Thank you. Well, we're facing a few different crises here. We're facing a financial crisis, a health crisis, an environmental crisis. So, and we have a racial divide crisis that we must address all of them. First, I believe that it's helping our small businesses and our working families. They're the ones that are suffering the most. You go around and talk to some of the business owners, and they've never seen anything like that. Nobody has. As we're helping out our working families, that includes everything from better wages to housing. Housing is everybody has mentioned housing. Okay, well, that's great. let's not just mention it, let's actually do something about it. You know, we have a new hotel coming in, and we have 120 units coming downtown, and only 18 of them are going to be low-income housing or workforce housing. The other thing we have to do is get away from the stigma that low-income housing is ghetto housing. It's not. In Napa, we have affordable housing that can be really nice. So my priority is going to be housing, the working families, and helping small businesses survive this and thrive.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we will go to the next question, and we will start with Scott. Scott, last November, the city of Santa Rosa adopted some all-electric codes for new residential construction, meaning that you would only have electrical appliances, not gas. How do you feel about doing this in the city of Napa?
I support, they're referred to as REACH codes, reach beyond what we're currently doing. And I think for residential construction, new construction, I think all electric is doable, and we should be moving that way. Retrofitting residences with all electric will be a bigger challenge, but we can do it over time. But yes, I think that the less use of fossil fuels is going to benefit us and our grandchildren. And by going clean electric, solar, and how that electric is generated either by wind or solar is the answer. So yes, I'm all in favor of moving towards those REACH codes for all electric, and reflective roofs is another great asset to new building. Even reflective street surfaces are being looked at on how we can reflect some of that heat. So yeah, I'm an environmentalist. You know, I believe in what we need to do to change the course of our climate, and so I'm all supportive of new construction. I've talked to some builders, and under new construction, those REACH codes are achievable.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Gerardo with the same question.
Yeah, I think the REACH codes, I think with new construction, that will work really well. Listen, the environment is one of the biggest reasons why people come to Napa, and we have to protect our environment. And if that's one of the steps that we have to take many more. But I think if that's the first step with construction, I think that's a step we have to take. You know, having electric cars, electric scooters in town, having different ways that we could get around without using fossil fuels is another priority of mine, because again, the environment is one of the things that we have to protect. And you know, with all the fires and everything that's going on, we really need to make sure that we do a better job protecting the environment and focusing on any way that we can. The biggest thing we can do is go electric, in my opinion. I think that's good. Oh, I got another 30 seconds. Well, then let's talk about this. As you know, Scott mentioned, going into retrofitting some homes, I think that's going to be costly, but over time, I think we can achieve that goal and really hit those goals, not just talk about them. I think that's the biggest thing that we should get out of tonight is we've been talking about a lot of things over the last few years, and I think making sure that we accomplish those, that's the goal. Thank you.
Just one moment, please. Doris, I just need to let the translator know that she might be fading in and out a little. I'm not sure, but maybe make sure close to the microphone. Thank you. All right. We're reset on the timer and ready to go. Same question for you, Doris.
Okay. So your question was, what do I think about moving Napa to all electric appliances and houses? Is that the question?
Correct.
So my answer is a little different than the previous two candidates in that the presentation to the city council the other day about the REACH codes and everything said that guess who is balking? Guess who is not wanting all electric. And that is a person who cooks, because on the stove, I love my gas stove. And that becomes like where we get a little bit crosswise. The other concern I have with all electric is that, for example, like with the smart meters and things, they can just turn our power off. Power can be controlled by someone else, and that's a way of ramping things down. I'm disappointed in this state with our power supply. We are one of the largest states in the nation with the most people, and yet we have these power outages because, oh my gosh, we're demanding more electricity than electricity can provide. And yet we want to go to all electric in all new construction. Something's got to be fixed before that idea is a good idea. That's my 2 cents on that subject. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And now the next question. We will start with Gerardo. Can you comment on the idea that Napa City and County are addicted to growth? More people, more hotels, more housing, all aimed at increasing tax revenue, and that a slow growth or no growth strategy might work better for residents over the long run?
Yeah. Listen, the tourism industry has done well for Napa, and it's really kind of been the driving force, at least in the city, over the last 10 years to bring income. It's brought other issues, but that's been our main breadwinner. I think one of the biggest things that we can do is focus on how we grow, because I think the environment, we have to really bring in the experts to talk about the environment and how much growth we want. When we're talking about workforce housing, I think that's where we really have to focus, because some of our families are having to move out of the city. They can't afford to live in the city. So we do want some growth, but we want to make sure that it's we're growing with caution. I think there's a lot of, let's just talk about the 1,100 students that had to leave Napa Valley Unified School District this year because the families moved out of the city. That doesn't sit well. I think our community is about families, and I think our families having to move out because they can't afford to live here is a real issue. So we do have to have some growth so that we can build the affordable workforce housing that we need for our families. Hotels and everything else has been growing at a pretty good pace. I think we need to focus on local families, working families, a little bit more.
Thank you. And now we will go to Doris. Same question. Can you comment on the idea of Napa City and County addicted to growth?
Could you repeat the question? You
Certainly.
clicked out.
Okay. The question was, can you comment on the idea that Napa City and County are addicted to growth? More people, more hotels, more housing, all aimed at increasing tax revenue, and that a slow growth or no growth strategy might work better for residents over the long run.
So I love your question. It's great wisdom, whoever presented that. We are still a rural city. We have 75,000 people, 78,000 people. We're still a rural community. And a lot of people have moved away. A lot of vacant homes. There's a lot of inventory on the market. A lot of people have been, forced to move back home to dad and mom because Napa is a little pricey. But we're not as expensive as some other communities. The cost of living here is smaller. And because we're rural, a lot of people want to move here from San Francisco and other places because now they can work from home. And who doesn't want to work from home and be in this beautiful rural environment? I don't think the city is addicted to growth. The city itself has never built a hotel or a restaurant. That's not what the city does. People with really big budgets do their research And then they come over here and they say, oh my gosh, I want to come and invest in Napa. So we need to be smarter and wiser with our future choices of who we do allow to come in. And we need to make sure they're environmentally friendly and sustainable for our community.
Thank you. Thank you. And now Scott, the same question.
Yeah, I don't believe that we are addicted to growth. Napa has been a slow growth community for 50 years. The establishment of the Ag Preserve, you know, that created a slow growth model. The city of Napa created the rural urban line to stop urban sprawl. So I think we've done very well at slow growth, well planned and compatible growth. But what in turn the results are is you have things that are more expensive. The property becomes more valuable. St. Helena took a no growth policy for a long time, and you may understand and read about some of the difficulties they have in providing those essential services for their residences. So my advocacy will be continue on slow growth, well planned, it's compatible. Working on some diversity. I've worked with some incubators trying to get some other small tech companies to come into Napa, but you know, our transportation availability up here is a little bit awkward, but now that more individuals are moving, working from home remotely, maybe those possibilities are there to attract that industry other than the hospitality and tourism. But yes, I'm a slow growth advocate and continue that track that I think that has been very successful for our community.
Thank you. Okay. Now this next question, we will start with Doris. The question, what have you done to support the poor, the most vulnerable, and underserved in the city?
I love that question. What an honor for these questions to be asked of us. The low and the most vulnerable. Well, first of all, I think everybody knows I'm a foster mom. I've taken 200 children to live in my house and helped them to rebuild their lives, helped them to go to school, get their grades up, graduate, and many of the children have been able to reunify with their families. I have personally, individually worked with the families of these children to help these families get housing, and sometimes it's sanitation. I've worked to help them get their homes clean and be able to receive their children back into their homes. But in addition to that, I have been a great advocate for the homeless in our community. The homeless are people. They hurt and they have emotions. And when we say divisive things to the homeless, the poorest among us, it's a travesty. I personally have helped almost every year to raise money for sleeping bags and food and shelter for the homeless, and also worked with Salvation Army, who does a magical job of feeding the most vulnerable among us. So housing our vulnerable, feeding our vulnerable, delivering socks. I've helped deliver hundreds of pairs of wool socks in the winter and sleeping
Okay,
bags
thank
and
you.
blankets.
Sorry.
Thank you. I'm out of time.
We have to
keep
keep to our
going. Thank
schedule. Okay, Scott, same question to you.
One of my proudest achievements is when I was on Napa Valley Unified School District as a board member. The California charter school movement was picking up steam, and most of the charter schools times they were startup charters, and Napa's first charter was the River School. So it was a startup that didn't really impact the district too heavily. Well, then the transition schools started looking at maybe charter would work for us. And so the principal at Westwood School was trying to introduce a two-way immersion program for instruction in English language, because the majority of the students there came from Spanish-speaking families. So I was an advocate to transition Westwood School into Napa Valley Language Academy. And so I had heated debates with my other school board members about the equity in it all, that, well, that's going to make it unfair for that school. They'll have block grant funding, will make it easier to do programs. And I said, you're comparing Westwood and Phillips and Shear to Browns Valley and Vichy. We have to move that needle. And now Napa Valley Language Academy is one of the most high achieving and popular schools in the district. Also, I started a smoke detector program when I was at the fire department, a free smoke detector for anybody who requested it. So I'd go out to a lot of these homes that didn't have a smoke detector, and we would install them. I would install them on my day off. So I was proud of my smoke detector program.
Thank you very much. All right, Geraldo. You'll need to go. Yeah, there you go.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, yes, and we'll need to reset the timer as well. The question is, what have you done to support the poor, the most vulnerable, and the underserved in our city?
That's a really good question, and I'm glad you asked that. So,
excuse me 1 second. Could the timer please reset? Thank you.
perfect.
Go ahead.
All right. So working with our community, we realize that there's different aspects to our community. When you talk to somebody outside of Napa, they think everybody in Napa is rich. Working with our families, our working families, to make sure that their voice is heard is something that I've been doing forever. Our small Latino businesses, we basically, I ran the Napa County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, where we bridged the gap so that Latino and non-Latino business could coexist and grow. Starting the Latino Leaders Luncheon, where in 2012, we realized that there was a time where we wanted to have more of a say in what was going on in Napa. And so we started the Latino Leaders Luncheon. We get about 50 people together, and we bring elected officials in so that we can talk. The mission there was to include get more people on boards, commissions, elected offices, and focusing on what's the best thing for the community. The other thing is we got to work with the COVID. COVID is one of the issues that has hit the Latino community disproportionately to everybody else. And so I think we have to really work hard, and we've been advocating through the chamber and through the other organizations to make sure that we're getting the word out in Spanish. And I think that's something that we need to work harder on, because we don't have somebody that works full-time just to translate to our community.
Thank you. Thank you. And now the next question, and we will start with Scott this time. Given how divisive everyday issues have become, if elected, how would you build bridges in the community to build a better Napa? Scott.
Yes, thank you. Boy, the divisiveness, it's just gotten so, it's an epidemic in our nation, and how we bring that together as a community. I guess we think globally and act locally. So, it's communication, it's inclusion, it's myself as mayor, at every place I can be, welcoming, bringing people into programs. The city, we do the Citizens Academy that gives an opportunity for people to come and learn our city departments. That's a great program. Many of you may be familiar with Leadership Napa Valley. Our mayor, Jill Teckel, is instrumental in that program. And it's just done an amazing job in that inclusive nature of bringing in. But the bottom line, it's communication. We have to be open. We have to be able to communicate in multiple languages to make sure we're reaching all our citizens. But I'm just hopeful that we can turn this tide a little bit, and the pandemic is not making it any easier. But for me, it's my fire department training and how I'm accepting and willing to communicate and work towards that goal. But a huge challenge ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll reset the timer and then ask Gerardo the same question.
So as mayor, one of the biggest things that I'm going to do is put together a 15-person panel, a diverse panel that I can meet with monthly, and really have my ear to the ground and really understand what's going on in the city, what's going on with our citizens that don't feel included. And I think that the divisiveness comes, it's really leaking in from the national level. And I think that's something that we all have to kind of put a bubble around in Napa and really focus on. We can't take care of a lot of things, but we can take care of Napa. This isn't something that's brand new though. This is something that's been festering for a long time. And I think we haven't addressed it. And I think now it's time to address it. And me as mayor will be addressing it as one of the top priorities, is to get everybody to feel like they're included and not separating everybody. There's a lot of rhetoric about mask, no mask, everything else. I mean, we're a divisive community and in all aspects. And I think it's time that we all get together and collaborate and make sure that we work together toward this. We will get through this. Our best days are ahead of us, but we have to work together, and it starts with electing me as mayor.
Thank you. And we'll reset the timer, and the same question to Doris.
So division and divisiveness. You bring up that question, you must think there's a problem. I don't think I've seen any of that. That was a joke. There's a lot of that, and it's disappointing. And I think that in this city's so beautiful, this rural community. I wake up every day and just am in awe that I live in such an amazing place. I feel that people in this community, when I go down the street and go around to restaurants and places in town, I feel that people are welcoming and they're embracing and they smile. So for me, the majority of people, I think, are very interested in all of us getting along together and building teams and networks. So I look forward to being mayor. I look forward to building collaboration in teams and most importantly, putting people together that are opposites and that are different, putting those same people in pods, in rooms, and talk about how to move the barrier and move the mark, to lift the lid and raise the glass ceiling, because it's a can-do world. And if you can do it, you can do it. And I believe we can work together, team together, network together, and be the best self that we were born to be. And I believe we can accomplish a lot with supporting one another. And that's what I look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you. And now on to the next question, and we will start with Gerardo. The question is, given that 2020 has presented unprecedented challenges to the city budget with declining revenues and increased costs, what steps do you think should be taken to ensure Napa City remains on a good financial footing?
Thank you. That's a great question, and that's one of the main reasons I'm running for mayor. Over the years, or over the last few months, in my business as a financial advisor, I've been tracking the markets nationally, internationally, and I kept seeing this thing and this financial crisis coming. And when I started looking at Napa, it was when I started working on the Small Business Recovery Task Force and really kind of looking at the businesses and how this financial crisis was going to affect us. I think the number one thing is we got to try and keep all our services going. But with the $20 million deficit coming next year and our TOT down about 70%, it's going to be difficult. I help my clients budget. I help my clients create financial plans to get through their personal financial crisis. This is in a bigger scale, but this is the same thing. We have to really kind of look at what are we spending on? What things can we cut? What things can we not cut? I don't think that it's possible to get through a year when you have a $20 million deficit without any cuts. But I do think that we can all come together and talk about it and figure out what's the best way to get through it. It's not going to be, we're not going to be out of it in 2 years. We may not be out of it in 4 years. So I think it's time that we start talking about that right now. I mean, it should have been talked about all along, but I think we're kind of hopeful that it'll go away in a few days, but I don't think so. I think that financial crisis is here and we have to address it.
Thank you. And next to Doris, same question.
Facing the financial crisis in the city of Napa is not convenient. It's complicated and it's hurting people. We currently have 70, that's 70 open positions in Napa where people have left or retired, and we have not backfilled those positions. So that puts more work on the part of everybody else that works for our city. We have frozen new hiring. We have frozen travel. We have frozen spending money. We have frozen buying new fire trucks. We will have to continue to dig deeper and look harder at what we must do. And it's just like you would do, Bernadette, in your family. If suddenly half of your income was gone, you would budget and make a strategy, just like Gerardo said he's doing with his clients. We've got to buckle down, we got to buck up, and we got to get serious about how we're going to meet this deficit. And the good news for Napa is that we're most likely going to be able to pull through this because we're not already in massive debt, and we haven't, we don't have the big new city hall looming over us. We're going to be okay. And so we just have to keep on a very solid footing and a strong path forward.
Thank you. Scott, same question. You're on mute, Scott.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, a top priority is to rebuild our economy, to make sure that our economy is functioning and vibrant as possible. We did some great work with the downtown businesses and other businesses around town on the outdoor dining and the parklets and some other efforts to try to help that along. So it'll be a slow recovery, but it's coming back. So we have to, I don't like the term pivot, but we pivoted pretty quickly. We adjusted our budget, like we said, at about 20%, mainly through a little belt tightening and not filling positions. We were real close in some employee concessions. Our employee groups work with us very closely. They understand the situation, and we were having those discussions. Hopefully, if the economy rebuilds quick enough, we won't have to go back to the employees to look for concessions, but that's always a possibility. My time on the council, I supported a strong reserve policy. We upped our reserves so we could be in a good position to weather this storm. We thought that we may have to lay off people, but because we had a strong reserve in place, we didn't have to do that. So that's the key, is planning. There has been planning in the past. It wasn't like this that's caught us by surprise. So we were ready in that side. It's just those efforts that are ongoing that we don't overextend.
Great. Thank you. And now we're on to the next question that we'll start with Doris. Congratulations to the City of Napa on adopting the resolution identifying systemic racism as a public health crisis. And we're pleased to read that City Manager Steve Potter announced that the city will begin a mandatory multi-year training program for workers covering racial equality, implicit bias, cultural awareness, LGBTG rights, and gender identity. What other policies would you promote to address this issue? And we'll start with Doris.
So I love that question because training is always a good idea. Training is a nonstop. A leader is a learner, and I'm a lifetime learner. For 20 years, I've worked at Napa Valley College, and my job is to teach parents parenting. But also at the college, I'm a leader, and I am a safe space for people to come to if they feel like they've been bullied or marginalized or not paid attention to or embarrassed or hurt. I have a certificate on my door. We take specialized training to be a safe space. Isn't that just a good idea? Don't we want to teach our children constantly, daily, every week, month, and year to be honorable citizens in our community, to honor other people no matter their skin color or their racial position in life, whether they're homeless or have many alphabets behind their name. So in my case, I think training is always good. I support our police department, who has talked about incorporating more training, more sensitivity training, more caution and careful training as they work with residents in the community, as well as Steve Potter talking about the staff of the city. I mean, you have street workers, people that are out working the pipes and ditches, and we have parks workers, and we need to have that excellent training for all of our staff. We need to be,
Thank you.
no,
Thank you. Sorry.
give my thing, I didn't hear see my thing go off.
I think it did. I think it blinked a few times. Maybe we need to
Oh, I'm
leave it on
sorry.
a little
Oh,
longer.
okay, well, I just think training is always a good idea, and the city should be inclusive, and the city should respect all people. Thank
Okay, well, we are now going to take that same question and move on to Scott.
The key is in your hiring practices. So in our human resources department, you know, we are very selective in who we hire at all levels of government, from our executive staff to our parks workers. So that's the key, is you hire the right employees. And then we hold our mid-managers accountable to make sure that all their employees are, you know, understand our principles, understand what we expect, and how we expect everyone in the community treated. And you weed out the bad ones. We have probationary periods. We have 1 year probationary periods for police officer and firefighter. And in that 1 year, if there are any red flags that go up, that's when you address it. You don't extend probation. You release them from probation. Police officers are the hardest position to fill in any city government. And when you have as high of standards as we have, it makes it more difficult, because it's such a critical job to have in any community. So yeah, that's what my belief are, is it starts with hiring practices, the accountability of mid-level managers, and the strength to remove the bad ones when it warrants it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll reset the timer and we'll go to Geraldo.
Well, I want to start by congratulating the city and all the people that worked so hard to get the resolution passed. In 2013, when Andy Lopez was shot and killed in Santa Rosa, we had just started the Latino Leaders Luncheon, and we met with city officials, and we tried to do the same thing, try to get diversity training. Everybody said that it would happen, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen because people didn't want it to happen. We asked for diversity training in the more intense diversity training in the police department and everywhere else. Now they've passed this resolution. That resolution is not going to mean anything unless we actually move forward with it and move forward with the things that we're talking about. To sit here and say, well, we got a resolution, now we're going to start training. Look, only 3 out of, 8% of city staff is Latino. We have 40%, 41% Latino in our city, and we talk about high standards. That's where it all starts. It's let's hire the right people, but let's not exclude them because of their color or LGBTQ or anything else. We have to make sure that everybody is included, and we do not discriminate against anybody. Black Lives Matter. It sounds harsh, but Black Lives Matter. We got to make sure that we got everything that we're doing is going to be for everybody's purpose and not just a few. And I think that's where that thing ends. I mean, we got to work hard at it. And a resolution is great, but we have to do more.
Great. Thank you. And now we will start with Scott for this next question. And the question is, would you support the inclusion of an urban forest master plan, which will address the protection, maintenance, sustainability, and enhancement of Napa City's tree canopy in the new general plan? You're on mute, Scott.
Yes, I would support that. You know, I've been working. I was one of the only electeds in the county that supported Measure C. the Watershed and Oak Woodlands Protection Initiative that failed a few years back. So we hire urban foresters in our Parks Department. We are a Tree City USA, and I think we can carbon farm better, so we can manage our forest better by the species we plant. It's all part in working with property owners in backyards, how to improve in xeriscape landscaping with less water. Mature trees don't take as much water. So I'm 100% behind those efforts, again, in addressing our climate change. We have some great people. Now they're not just, we used to call them the tree crew in Napa, but now they're our urban foresters doing a great job for us. And I hope to expand that as mayor.
Great. Thank you. All right. And Gerardo, same question. You're on mute. And there you go.
Sorry about that. Look, we have to find a way to both live as humans in our community and also respect nature. That's where we have to cohabitate, whether it comes down to protecting our county water from coming downstream and being contaminated, to creating an environment where all of the wild birds and everything else can cohabitate with us. We as humans like to push the envelope a lot, and I think we have to make sure that we focus on the environment, make sure that we focus on making sure that we don't overstep our boundaries. The biggest reason that we're in this climate change is because we haven't been paying attention for the last 50 years. We need to do more to make sure that we can leave our kids an environment that they can be proud of. It's not about just us right now. We have to work. What we do right now is going to affect our 20, 30 years from now. So let's make sure that we're staying focused on all aspects of the environment and consulting the professionals. I mean, there's some experts out there, and we're very lucky to have experts here in Napa that we can really count on to give us an honest opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now Doris, same question.
Okay, that's a great question. I love this question because trees do so much more than give us shade or create a place for birds. Trees drink in carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide and all kinds of carbon things and breathe out oxygen. And those are all great things. And we are a Tree City USA, and we do have an amazing urban forest. But you know what? Those trees do something so much more majestic. They send a root system deep into the earth, and that root system hangs on to the dirt and all of the earth that we have here and helps to prevent the erosion that goes down the sewer system and right out into our river and fills up our river. We've had our river, we've had the boats come along and dredge out our river many times. And it's because we don't have enough of an urban forest to hold our earth in place and prevent our earth from silting away. And the beautiful soil that silts away is our topsoil that's full of that's nutrient rich and filled with all sorts of beautiful things that help our community, grass and parks and things like that. So our Parks and Rec does an annual tree planting. We have Tree Day and Plant a Tree Day, and we have hundreds of new trees that are planted out at Kennedy Park and in all sorts of places. We need to do more emphasis on that, and we need to continue to be a Tree City USA. We need to grow our urban forests and our canopy. And then on another note, your screens are not changing color for us to the yellow and red. I just want to point that out.
Can you see?
It's not all of our screens, Doris. It's only Sue's screen that changes colors.
Right, it's not changing color. It never went to yellow or red. That was what I was saying.
It did at one point. But anyway, thank you, Doris, for your answer. And actually, we are out of time for more questions. But before we end with the candidates' closing statements, which, just a reminder, we will go in reverse order. So Scott will be first, then Doris, and then Gerardo. But I just want to thank everybody for running for elected office and for your participation with us this evening. We thank the audience for joining us, and videos of this will be out. The links will be available on our website, League of Women Voters, lwvnapa.org, in a few days. And for further information about other upcoming forums, tomorrow night we will do City Council, District 2 and District 4. And our website also has a link to our Voters Edge site, which has expanded information about candidates and ballot measures, as well as links to the vote centers and drop boxes and lots of other information for the upcoming election. If you'd like to be involved with League of Women Voters, men and women helping making democracy work, it's easy to join us. Just visit our website, once again, lwvnapa.org. And a reminder that the deadline to register to vote is October 19th. If you have moved, which, you know, with fires and everything that's going on, a lot of people are moving. If you've moved or changed your name, or you wish to change your party affiliation since you last registered, you need to re-register. Online voter registration is available online at the Secretary of State's website, sos.ca.gov. It's secure, it's easy, and Napa County is lucky that if the voters miss the October 19th deadline, you can register conditionally at the Registrar of Voters office or any vote centers that will be open starting Saturday, October 31st. If you vote by mail in Napa County, you can avoid any postal delivery delays by using one of the many drop boxes that's available, and you don't need postage. You can follow where your ballot is, the status of it through the whole process through a new tool called Where's My Ballot? And a link to that tool is also available on our website. So we are very lucky here in many ways. And last but not least, please encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to vote in this election. We know every vote counts. And now back to the candidates' closing statements. Again, this will be 1.5 minutes, and we will start the timing, and we will go with Scott.
Well, thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. I was raised in Napa. I've been married to 45 years to Linda, and I've worked 30 years with the Napa Fire Department. I am the most qualified and experienced candidate to fill the shoes of Mayor Teckel. If someone says your experience doesn't matter, it's because they don't have experience. I spent 9 years on the school board, as I mentioned, nearly 8 years on Napa City Council. I'm a senior council member, served on regional boards and commissions, nonprofits and foundations. I currently serve on the Association of Bay Area Governments, the Napa Vallejo Waste Management Authority, the Local Agency Formation Commission, otherwise known as LAFCO, and on the newly formed Napa Climate Action Committee. I'm a member of the Napa County Land Trust, a member of the Redwood chapter of the Sierra Club. I'm a proud Kiwanian. I'm the son of the American Legion, and I'm an active member and past president of the Napa County Historical Society. Endorsements, it would be simpler to ask me who has not endorsed me. I have 2 of my council members endorsing me. I have Mayor Teckel endorsing me. All 5 mayors of the county endorse me, and all 5 boards of supervisors endorse my candidacy also, including our district attorney and sheriff. Mike Thompson, Bill Dodd, and Cecilia Aguilar Curry all endorse my candidacy. That tells me a little bit about, that tells you a little bit about the trust that our community has in me. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and now we will go to Doris, your closing statement, 1.5 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Was my picture going to come up? Let me see. My picture's not coming up in the center of the screen, but that's okay. Yeah, so I'm excited to be running for mayor. I am the best qualified person running for mayor to be mayor of the city of Napa. I see you smiling, Gerardo. I am the best qualified person, but you know what I'm not? I'm not a polished politician. I'm not endorsed by all the political VIPs in the community, and I'm not currently serving on all the political government boards and commissions and things like that. You know what I am? I'm a local person. I am a business person. I'm a community advocate. I'm a teacher, a foster mom, and a person that builds up, encourages, and nurtures others. And in my life, I've owned lots of businesses and employed lots of people. One of my companies did 30,000 W-2s a year. I have had vast business and commercial experience in investment banking and all of those things. But you know what's the most important thing is we need to safely look at how we can open our schools, safely how we can open our businesses.
Thank you,
We
Doris.
need to protect our police and our community and our families and our citizens, our
Thank you,
residents of
Doris.
Napa.
Doris, I'm not sure if you can
Thank you.
see, but
Is
we,
my time
your
up?
time is up. Your time is up and it's
Oh,
red.
okay.
There we
Well,
go.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'm the most qualified. Boom.
All right. Gerardo, to you.
Thank you very much. This has been very entertaining. Listen, when I decided to run for mayor, it was because I saw this financial crisis coming. The social unrest was just starting, and I was paying attention because that's what I do for a living. I've been paying attention. We get updates several times a day with what's going on with the pandemic, what's going on financially across the world. And when I looked around and saw the candidates, no offense to anybody, but I just didn't feel like they were qualified to take on this new challenge. Look, this is not going to be the same old thing. It's not the same old. We have to create our new normal. Our new normal is going to mean that we have to be wearing masks for a while. We're going to have to be really looking at how we run our city, how we work with our businesses. Being mayor, being your mayor is much more than just another name tag for my chest. Being inclusive, LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter, people of color, it's all important. Everybody in this community is important to me. And I want to represent you and I want to give you a voice at City Council. So please vote for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gerardo. And before we sign off, I just want to mention that today is National Voter Registration Day. So if there's anyone you know that hasn't registered to vote or needs to re-register, please remind them. And we look forward to having a good election soon. And thank you all. There were a lot of attendees. We really appreciate the participation in our democracy. Good night to everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.